Jung said something most people don't like repeating. He said consciousness doesn't arrive as light, it arrives as rupture, because some truths don't set you free at first. They expose you. And once you're exposed, you no longer fit where you used to fit. Maybe no one has ever told you this honestly, so let me tell you now. Awakening is not feeling better. It's not feeling special. It's not feeling above. Most of the time, awakening feels like not belonging. It's walking into a room where everyone is laughing and sensing something in it isn't real. It's hearing "I'm fine" and feeling how far from fine it really is. It's sensing tension before the argument, intention before the request, control disguised as care. And the most confusing part is this: no one said anything. Nothing technically happened, but you know, and you try to ignore it, because ignoring feels safer. Ignoring lets you keep belonging. But something starts happening inside you. You start getting tired of pretending you didn't see it, pretending you didn't feel it, pretending you didn't notice. And every time you stay silent, it's not the other person who disappears. It's you. Maybe that's why you've always felt like you never fully fit, like you're half a step outside the rhythm of the world. Not because you're too cold, but because you feel too deeply. The world rushes. You notice. The world simplifies. You go deeper. The world wants quick answers. You sense layers. And quietly, you start asking yourself, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I think too much. Maybe I feel too much. Maybe I should be more normal. Jung would say, no. He would say there's a type of person who develops what he called differentiated perception. It isn't mysticism. It isn't supernatural. It's psyche. It's the ability to notice patterns before they become obvious. It's reading micro-expressions, feeling shifts in the emotional atmosphere, sensing when someone's words and intentions don't match. And that capacity rarely comes from comfort. It comes from necessity. Many highly perceptive people grew up in environments where someone's mood determined whether the day was safe. Silence was more dangerous than conflict. Noticing quickly prevented pain. Reading the room was survival. So you learned to feel before you understood, to sense before you could explain, to perceive before you reacted, and it saved you. But now, it's starting to isolate you, because the more you see, the less you can participate in games that depend on blindness. And here's the part almost nobody dares to say. Seeing too much doesn't make you dangerous because you attack. It makes you dangerous because you reveal. Jung warned that people like this become living mirrors. And mirrors are deeply threatening to anyone who built their identity on top of masks. The risk isn't that you're wrong. The risk is that you're right, around people who aren't ready to see themselves. That's when the strange reactions begin. You set a boundary and they call you cold. You stay quiet and they call you arrogant. You stop explaining yourself and they say you changed, but you didn't change. You stopped pretending, and that touches something deep in them, something they avoid, something they project. If you're listening to this and you feel a tightness in your chest, it's not a coincidence. That tightness is recognition, because there's a very specific kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being surrounded by people who can't actually meet you. And if you've lived that, I want you to listen carefully right now. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're not difficult. You simply developed consciousness in an environment that still relies on unconsciousness to stay stable. This video isn't here to convince anyone. It's not here to prove anything. It's not here to turn you into someone else. It's here to show you how to stay conscious without destroying yourself in the process. Because in the next chapters, you're going to understand why people react when you see too clearly, how shadow and projection work against you, why trying to save everyone makes you vulnerable, and how Jung offered a rare path, individuation without isolation. And if you've always felt like you don't fit, maybe it's not because you're too much. Maybe it's because you woke up in a place where sleep is still the rule. Here, you don't have to defend yourself. In the next section, I'm going to show you the invisible mechanism that makes people attack the mirror instead of looking at themselves. And once you understand it, a lot of your life is going to finally make sense. For Jung, there's something that governs most human relationships without people realizing it. He called it the shadow. The shadow isn't your bad side. It isn't an inner demon. It isn't something you need to destroy. The shadow is everything you learned you couldn't be in order to stay accepted. The anger you were punished for, the sadness that was mocked, the ambition that was labeled selfish, the sensitivity that was treated as weakness. the curiosity that felt threatening, the brightness that made others uncomfortable. None of that disappears. The psyche doesn't throw energy away, it represses it. And what's repressed doesn't die. It descends. It goes into the basement of the psyche. And it starts operating from there. When someone can't stand looking at their own shadow, they do the oldest thing the unconscious mind knows how to do. They project. Projection is simple and brutal. Instead of saying, "I feel envy," they say, "You're arrogant." Instead of saying, "I'm afraid to change," they say, "You think you're better." Instead of saying, "I don't have the courage," they say, "You're acting weird." Projection is a desperate attempt to keep the self-image intact at someone else's expense. And here's what most people don't understand. When you see clearly, you interrupt projection, not because you confront, but because you don't participate. You don't confirm the lie, you don't reinforce the mask, you don't pretend you didn't notice. And that creates a psychological short circuit. The person feels something strange around you, a discomfort they can't name, an irritation that makes no sense, a sudden urge to diminish you without knowing why, because you're seeing what they refuse to see in themselves. And that hurts. Jung said no one hates a mirror for no reason. Hatred rises when the mirror reflects something that threatens the identity they've built. That's why the reaction is rarely conscious. They don't say, "I'm uncomfortable with what you reflect in me." They say, "You changed. You're acting weird. You've gotten cold. You think you're too much." It isn't rational attack. It's ancient defense. Maybe now you recognize this in real situations. You mature, and someone says you lost your lightness. You set boundaries, and they call you selfish. You stay quiet, and they say you're judging. You don't join the drama, and they say you don't care. But look closely. You're not attacking anyone. You just stopped sustaining the fantasy. And collective fantasies require accomplices. That's how families work. That's how groups work. That's how workplaces work. There are unconscious agreements. We don't talk about that. We don't question this. You're the sensitive one. You're the strong one. You're the one who understands everyone. And when you start seeing, and especially when you stop shaping yourself to fit those roles, the agreement breaks. And when an unconscious agreement breaks, someone always tries to restore it. Sometimes with guilt, sometimes with sarcasm, sometimes with exclusion, sometimes with aggression disguised as concern. You're not like you used to be. You've been so serious. You think too much. You need to relax. The subtext is simple. Go back to being who made us comfortable. And here's the hard truth. Not everyone wants to grow with you. Some people need you not to change, so they don't have to change. That doesn't make them villains. It makes them human, but it forces you to choose. Either you betray yourself to protect collective comfort, or you honor what you've seen and accept the temporary discomfort of individuation. Jung was clear about this. Consciousness without integration becomes weight. Integration becomes path. Many people wake up a little and get hurt a lot because they see, but don't know how to live with what they see. So they over-explain, over-convince, over-save, over-reveal. And that's a mistake, because trying to open the eyes of someone who didn't ask for vision is a kind of violence. Even when it comes from love, you expose yourself. You become a target. You hand your vulnerability to someone still using shadow as a weapon. And Jung never proposed that. He didn't propose that you become a missionary of truth. He proposed that you become whole. Individuation isn't about enlightening others. It's about integrating you. And integration means learning something fundamental. Seeing doesn't obligate you to speak. Feeling doesn't obligate you to explain. Perceiving doesn't obligate you to expose yourself. There's a quiet maturity that begins when you understand. Not every environment deserves your level of consciousness. And that isn't arrogance. It's psychological care. In the next section, I'm going to show you the 3 specific moments when your consciousness becomes most threatening, and why in those moments you need more discernment, not more explanation. If you've ever felt that as you improve, something around you gets worse, the next part will clarify it in a way that changes how you stand in the world. There's a specific moment when consciousness stops being only internal and starts affecting the field around you. Not because you speak, but because your frequency shifts. Jung saw this again and again in his patients. When someone begins integrating their psyche, the environment reacts. And it reacts strongly. It's not coincidence, it's system. Every family, every group, every environment runs on invisible agreements. Nobody signs them. Nobody says them out loud. but everyone feels it when someone threatens to break them. The agreement might be, we don't talk about feelings here. We don't confront authority. We don't grow beyond this level. You're the sensitive one, so hold everything. You're the strong one, so don't fall. These agreements create stability, even if it's a sick stability. And when you start seeing, and especially when you stop sacrificing yourself to keep those agreements alive, something shakes. Jung said unconscious systems react to individuation the way a body reacts to a foreign object, with rejection, not because you're wrong, but because you've become unpredictable. The collective unconscious hates unpredictability. It prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. And here are 3 moments when this shows up most intensely. 1. When you develop a calm certainty, it isn't arrogance. It isn't stubbornness. It isn't rigidity. It's when you simply know. You know when something isn't real. You know when someone is playing a game. You know when a promise is empty. You know when something isn't meant for you. And most importantly, you don't need to explain it endlessly. That quiet certainty is deeply threatening, because insecure people need you to doubt yourself. They need you to ask permission. They need you to justify. They need you to get confused. When you don't do that, they feel something uncomfortable. I can't control you. And control is the hidden foundation of many relationships disguised as love. That's why the reaction comes as criticism. You changed. You're acting weird. You're full of yourself. You used to listen more. You used to give in more. You used to shrink more. You used to explain more. Your certainty isn't the issue. The issue is that it exposes the insecurity of people who depend on your doubt. 2. When you stop playing emotional games. This is a turning point. Maybe you used to be the person who avoided conflict at all costs, absorbed the mood of the room, carried the group's guilt, apologized for existing, tried to keep everyone okay, and one day, you stop. You stop explaining, stop pleasing, stop bending. You start saying no without speeches, leaving draining conversations, not responding to provocation, not saving people who refuse to change. And that breaks the system. Families have fixed roles. Groups have emotional functions. When you abandon your role, someone loses the structure they relied on. So they try to pull you back, sometimes through guilt. You don't care anymore. Sometimes through sarcasm. Oh wow, now you're a monk. Sometimes through aggression. You're selfish. But notice, nobody asks how you are. They ask why you don't function the way you used to, because you used to carry something that was never yours. 3. When you truly get better, this one hurts the most, because it feels unfair. When you begin healing, respecting yourself, organizing your life, standing in your truth, you become living proof that change is possible. And that confronts people who chose not to change. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your sobriety exposes their addiction. Your clarity exposes their avoidance. Your peace exposes their chaos. And many people would rather diminish you than face that mirror. Not out of malice, out of fear. Jung said the unconscious would rather destroy the mirror than face the image. That's why the more whole you become, the more you threaten the invisible agreements around you. And here's the most common mistake of deeply perceptive people: thinking you have to save everyone, trying to make everyone see, trying to explain everything, trying to prove you're right, trying to wake up people who never asked. It looks like love, but often it's anxiety, fear of losing bonds, fear of being alone, fear of being seen as different. But Jung was clear: individuation isn't convincing anyone, it's sustaining who you've become. When you force vision, you expose yourself unnecessarily. You hand vulnerability to people with immature hands. You become a target for projection without psychic protection. That isn't courage. It's spiritual naivety. The path isn't closing your heart, and it isn't opening indiscriminately. It's developing discernment. In the next section, I'll show you how to protect yourself without shutting down, how to keep your heart open without becoming available, how to stay human without fragmenting. This is where perception becomes maturity, and consciousness becomes a path. There's a crucial difference between closing your heart and protecting your consciousness. A lot of people confuse maturity with coldness, discernment with isolation, boundaries with rejection, so they swing between extremes. Either they open too much and get wounded, or they close too much and harden. But Jung didn't propose either extreme. He spoke about something far more refined: consciousness with containment, a consciousness that feels but doesn't absorb everything, that perceives but doesn't react to everything, that loves but doesn't offer itself to every field. Individuation isn't becoming a fortress. It's becoming a territory with clear borders. And every healthy border has three functions: deciding who enters, deciding how far they enter, deciding what doesn't enter at all. Let's make this practical, because if this stays theoretical, the shadow will trick you. 1. Discern who you speak to. Maturity, not secrecy. There's a childish and dangerous belief that being authentic means telling everything to everyone. That isn't authenticity. That's a lack of discernment. Jung saw that individuals in individuation must carefully choose who receives their inner truths, not because they're superior, but because certain truths activate projection in people who aren't ready. Here's a simple, liberating system: the rule of 3 levels. Level 1, people for light things, small talk, daily life, safe surface contact. You don't owe your soul to this level. Level 2, people for process, people you can share phases, questions, growth. You share the journey but not an open wound. Level 3, people for intimate truth. This level is rare, very rare. Deep wounds, real dreams, fragile inner movements. Not everyone deserves level 3. And that's not judgment, it's self-protection. If you give level 3 to someone who only holds level 1, you create trauma, and then call it being too sensitive. 2. Boundaries without long justifications. Here's the key: a boundary doesn't need excessive explanation. When you over-explain, you're not communicating. You're asking permission, and permission to exist drains the soul. Jung said an integrated ego doesn't negotiate its dignity. A healthy boundary is short, clear, and calm. Compare. I can't because... Let me explain my whole situation. That doesn't work for me. I get triggered because my childhood. I'm not available for that. I didn't want to hurt you, but I made the choice I needed to make. Respect that requires convincing isn't respect. A boundary is a gate. Who honors it enters. Who doesn't stays outside. That's not punishment. It's consequence. 3. An open heart with selective availability. This is the highest spiritual maturity. You don't need to harden to be safe. You can be empathetic without absorbing, loving without sacrificing, gentle without disappearing. The mistake many conscious people make is confusing empathy with fusion. Feeling with someone isn't the same as carrying them. A simple principle: what isn't yours, isn't yours. You can hold space without fixing, listen without agreeing, be present without getting entangled. That requires what Jung called a structured ego, not an inflated ego, but one strong enough to hold its position without dissolving into someone else's field. The psychic protection protocol. This is what I promised you. Not mystical, not paranoid, not isolating, just conscious presence applied. Exercise 1, reality check, 30 seconds. Before you share something deep, ask, does this person want truth, or do they want comfort? If they want comfort and you give truth, they'll react like they were attacked. Not because you're wrong, but because you removed the pillow from their sleep. You get to choose when you speak. That's maturity. Exercise 2, shield phrases. Train until natural. Have simple phrases ready. It saves emotional energy. I understand. I'll think about it. I'd rather not go into that right now. I respect your view, and I'm keeping mine. That's something I'm working through privately. I'm not comfortable discussing that. No aggression. No long speeches. Protection isn't attack. It's clarity. Exercise 3, closing the field. 1 minute. After heavy interactions, do this. Breathe deeply. Put a hand on your chest and say internally, I return what isn't mine and I reclaim what is. Simple, but deeply regulating. It helps your nervous system stop carrying what belongs to someone else. If you've always felt like you don't fit, maybe it isn't because you're too much. Maybe it's because you woke up in a place where sleep became the norm. And I know that's exhausting, because seeing too much isn't glamour. Sometimes it's loneliness. Sometimes it's weight. Sometimes it's silence. But I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me sooner. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to apologize for perceiving. You don't have to explain yourself into existence. You just need to learn how to protect yourself without abandoning who you are. And here, you're not alone. There's a specific kind of person who recognizes themselves in this space. People who feel deeply, think deeply, and hunger for real meaning. This channel exists to be a place where you can recognize yourself without judging yourself, grow without hardening, strengthen without isolating, walk without pretending, If this video gave you clarity and still made you feel held, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next videos won't just inspire you, they'll support you as you become whole. And tell me in the comments, when did you realize you see too much? And how did it change your relationships? And if you know someone who feels exposed because they're too aware, share this video with them. Sometimes healing begins the moment someone realizes, I'm not the only one. May your consciousness never become a prison. May it become a path. And may you find people who don't attack you for being a mirror, but thank you for bringing light.